Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge Podcast. My name's Josh. Thanks for joining me today. I'm recording this a few days ago because I was busy in Michigan with my son, hanging out, soccer. It's awesome. But I've been trying to do this video for a little while, and I actually hired a researcher to help me do this, which I've actually been doing for a lot of my projects because I just don't have time. Let me tell you, when you hire people that are good at research, your life becomes so much easier. And I want to thank my researcher for that. And I've got a couple of researchers. And if you saw Laren's video on Saturday, Laren is my funny video editor. So I've actually been really blessed with a lot of really talented people. And Tyson's coming and doing all my editing, and he's getting really good at it. It frees me up to do even more videos, which I want to start doing the podcast with the dads again. And I want to bring back Bible Stories of Swearing and do some more stuff over on the Burnt Out Pastor channel. So really excited about the future of this channel. And one of the biggest stories that we did cover over the past 2 years on this channel was the PPP loan thing with a lot of these influencers and family vloggers that took this loan, I want to say inappropriately at best and illegally at worst. And so shit's about to hit the fan, so we want to recap and cover those who took the PPP loan. Let's go. Okay, so if you don't know what a PPP loan was, it was during COVID. I think even it was Trump era policy. I could be wrong about that, but they put in a policy that they earmarked billions and billions and billions of dollars for businesses who are going to suffer through the pandemic, gave them these short-term loans that were forgivable to keep their businesses afloat. And in the world of family vlogging, you shouldn't be surprised, but a lot of them took it. Not all of them, but a lot. And a lot of them took a lot of money. Okay, we did cover this, but my video got taken down from YouTube and I couldn't appeal it, nothing. It's the only video I've ever had. It wasn't a strike, nothing like that. It just got taken down and I couldn't even download it anymore. And I lost the original file for it. So I was really sad about that because I think I could probably repost it now, but whatever, we'll just do this video. It was really interesting that it got taken down though, because I think the people that I was targeting in the video all mass flagged the video and it just got removed. Crazy, because they don't want you to know what they did, these family vloggers. And so yeah, again, PPP loans were short-term loans they were meant for payroll, okay? And so how family vloggers would do it is they have an LLC or some kind of corporation, right? And you're allowed to do that. You're based on your business. Some of them have salaried employees. But I think we did the research on this, and the parameters for the PPP loan, almost none of them were legally actually allowed to take the PPP loan based on who they hired. Now, I spoke to Tara's husband, Tara Blanderson, and he said, well, we pay a person that does our translation. But the PPP loan stipulated you couldn't do that. This is for full-time staff who work for you for your business. Not services either. You couldn't pay a cleaning lady, couldn't pay a nanny, none of that type of stuff. So what these family vloggers would do is they would take it out and pay themselves with the money because they are their own employees. It's the same here in Canada. If you are incorporated, okay, or if you're an LLC in the US, you are your employee. So let's say you make $300,000 a year on YouTube, okay? That $300,000 goes into your incorporated or LLC bank account. Then, this is illegal, then you pay yourself a salary. Like usually the lowest tier, so you can pay the least taxes on that salary, right? So you give yourself a salary out of that bank account. Okay, the LLC and the incorporation is its own entity. It's like its own person, right? And so these people will pay themselves the least amount so they get the least amount of taxes taken off their paycheck. Then they pay themselves in dividends. And in Canada, I don't know what it is in the US, but in Canada, a dividend is between 12 and 15%. And you could take as many dividends as you want. So let's say you've paid yourself $45,000 for the year and you've got $250,000 sitting in your incorporation's bank account. You can take that $250,000 out at 12% tax, okay? Instead of being taxed here like 35% or whatever. That's how that works. And that is a legal loophole. And that's how rich people get richer. If you have a lot of money, the government allows you to do these things. Okay, so that's what they did. You are your own employee. My wife is an employee because she does my books. My son is an employee because he does my editing, right? So I pay them and I get a tax break because they are paid, right? Does that make sense? And so that's what they do. But they are usually paying themselves or their children who don't. Well, they pay their children, I think, and I don't think it's even legal for how they do it because they're not adhering to, stringent. I mean, this is where it gets a little bit crazy, right? They're not adhering to child labor laws because if they were, they would be marking their hours and all that kind of stuff, but they pay their kid because it's a legal way to avoid taxes. Okay, all that to say is that they would take the PPP loan, a couple of them, or all of them, I guess, and they would pay themselves the PPP loan because they are their employees. And I think shit's about to hit the fan because I don't think you were allowed to do that. Because first of all, none of the family vloggers suffered over COVID, okay? If anything, a lot of them grew and made more money, okay? Because that is not a job that requires you to come to a store or a restaurant or anything else. It was a job that was always there, and more people watched over the lockdowns than anywhere before. So it's not like they were suffering. They weren't losing money. Some of them will admit that they would lose some ad reads because people were doing less ad sponsorships because COVID, but that's a lie because we know that most major corporations and people that sell things like Amazon and everything else made way more money than anybody else during pandemic. So Walmart, all these big brands, everybody spent tons of money over COVID. So that's even a lie. Okay, they have to prove that though, and I think that's what's going to go on with this big fraud thing. So that's basically how they got around it legally. Now this is a legal loan. I don't think that they meant to break the law, and I'm pretty sure that most of them had financial advisors and banks just shilling money, right? I interviewed a person who worked at a bank who said family vloggers would come in and they would just get it. Boom. Banks were just throwing it out the window because the banks got a percentage. Right? Banks didn't care. They didn't do their due diligence. And these family vloggers were all in this little community and saying, hey, did you know I got this money? Did you know I got this money? Go get it. It's free money. Who wouldn't? It's free. You don't have to pay it back. Okay. So that's what was happening. And again, my shit got shut down on the PPP loan stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if this video stays up. So Joe Biden gets voted into office. Okay. Joe Biden does a speech a little while ago about how he's going to buckle down. He's going to come down hard on PPP loan fraud. Okay. And we're going to get to those who took the loan in a second, but I want to read to you a couple of articles that I found before we get to the who took it and who is likely going to be in trouble for it. Okay. And they might not be because they can also avoid lawyers. Okay. So this is the article from ABC News. It says Justice Department names prosecutor to go after pandemic fraud. Okay. So Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco said Kevin Chambers, an Associate Deputy Attorney General, will lead criminal and civil enforcement efforts targeting pandemic-related fraud. Monaco on Thursday convened the Department of COVID-19 Fraud Enforcement Task Force, which includes nearly 30 agencies that administer and oversee pandemic relief funding. This is not a small thing, guys. They're going after people. Now, whether or not family vloggers get caught into that, we'll see, because they weren't really the ones who took tons and tons. There were a couple, and we'll go over those in a second, but there were some who took more than others, and there were some who took a minuscule amount. Now, is it worth the government's time to go after them? I don't know. I'm going to make the argument that yes, it's going to be worth the time to go after public figures who took it so that it has a bigger impact overall and say, hey, look, don't do this because we took down this public figure, even though they might have taken a little bit rather than millions, right? Because there are people who took millions and they would buy cars, vacations, and homes, and they're already in jail. There's already people that were caught. I think they're going after the small amounts now. So the Justice Department has already taken enforcement actions related to more than $8 billion in suspected pandemic fraud. Monaco and Attorney General Merrick Garland said Thursday this includes bringing charges in more than 1,000 criminal cases involving losses in excess of $1.1 billion. Opening civil cases against over 1,800 individuals and businesses for alleged fraud involving more than $6 billion in loans and seizing more than $1.2 billion in refunds. Again, when you allow this is the government. This is the government's fault too, right? People are obviously going to break the law. If you give people the opportunity to do it, you're going to do it. This is why government is terrible at everything. Why would you want more government doing more of this shit? Because in the end, they're like, oh, well, now we have to go put these people in jail. And I honestly believe that some of these people don't think that they were breaking the law. And they might have been, okay? That's what happens when you do these emergency things without any thought. And this is what happens when you let the government take control of things. Have you ever, met somebody who worked for the government? I know lots of people, normally would be hard workers. But you ever met somebody who works for the government? Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Good people, but shit, man. Most of them don't do anything. I promise you that. And I come from Ottawa. You ask Mark, anybody who lives in Ottawa, where there's hundreds of thousands of government employees living off the government dollar. 6 people work for the government and do the work of 10,000. That's how it works. And then they play volleyball. Garland said that they know their work is not done and the department remains committed to using every criminal, civil, and administrative action available to combat and prevent pandemic fraud. Monaco added that the crimes are not victimless and that every stolen dollar is taken from somebody who needed it. Yes, and that's a big part of the story too. And we talked to a lot of people whose husbands couldn't get their loans for their small business, mechanic shops, restaurants, anything, and they had to shut down their businesses. People lost everything because Those rich people who had the forethought to go in because they had financial advisors to tell them to do it, they got it first. It was first come, first serve. So a lot of people who actually did really need it didn't get it and had to shut their doors and lost everything, while family vloggers who didn't need it at all, made more money than they ever made before anyway, still took the free money. And that's why people were super angry. Influencers didn't need it. Okay, not at all. They stole the money from other people. It was gross. I mean, if it's not illegal, it's still disgusting because they didn't need it. They already have more than everybody else. It's just greed and just disgusting. Okay, make no mistake, these criminals chose to line their own pockets at a time when Americans were hurting, at a time when many Americans were dying. Damn, that's a big line. Biden said in his address last week that the Trump administration undermined the watchdogs whose job was to keep pandemic relief funds from being wasted. He announced the chief prosecutor. So this is, again, I thought that happened under Trump's watch, and Trump, again, government, all over government. Not Republican, not Democrat, all government sucks at everything. The end. Let's be real. But if it happened under Trump's watch, that's Trump's fault. The COVID-19 relief programs were set up to help small businesses and the millions of people who lost their jobs due to the pandemic. It was meant to pay people who were working full-time jobs to keep the friggin' economy going, not to pay a family vlogger themselves to pay off debt. Yeah. It happened. I'll show you in a minute. The Secret Service said in December that potential fraudulent activity was nearing $100 billion. Most of it came from unemployment fraud. At the Justice Department, Chambers said he'll prioritize prosecuting large criminal organizations that commit some of the most far-ranging fraud, many using identity theft and target overseas. But Biden wants Congress to provide more resources to prosecute egregious pandemic fraud and increase penalties. So again, they're saying they're going after the big fish. I'm making this video so maybe these people can look at it and say, oh, here's a bunch of people we can go after. That's why I'm doing this video, honestly. Because I don't know. I hope they don't get away with it. Oh yeah, that to say, there's I think a law firm called Pate, Johnson and Church. It's a firm, and they have this PPP loan fraud investigation. They said, hey, look, are you being investigated for PPP loan? We'll help you, right? Contacted about a PPP loan fraud investigation? We can help. PPP loan fraud investigations are on the rise across the country. Federal prosecutors and criminal investigators from various federal agencies are actively looking for possible PPP loan fraud, EIDL loan fraud, and other CARES Act violations in an attempt to recover money that may have been fraudulently obtained. Okay. So what is a PPP loan fraud, they say? PPP loan fraud is when the individual or business submits false information in an application or certification for a loan under the federal Paycheck Protection Program. PPP was created to help companies stay in business during the coronavirus pandemic by providing forgivable loans to cover payroll and operating expenses. And this is what family vloggers, well, I'm on payroll. I need the money. I need it. They didn't need it. That's the thing, guys. If you needed it, it was there for you. But they took advantage of something they didn't need. And again, my researcher found, we're going to go over what these people took and then what they spent it on, allegedly, on their own channels. Okay? Because they made videos about buying houses, renovating, buying cars, buying mansions, buying land, paying off debt. It's crazy that they're this dumb. But we're going to put it in a neat little package. Okay, what happens during a PPP loan fraud investigation, okay? The focus of a triple P loan fraud investigation is to determine whether the charges should be brought against someone for violating one or more of the strict requirements. Generally, federal prosecutors have been targeting businesses and individuals who may have violated the program by making false statements on the PPP loan application. Be interesting. Applying for PPP loans from multiple lenders, loan stacking. I think that we have the banks that loaned. I don't think I have any evidence of any family vloggers loan stacking. But if you have multiple LLCs, that would be probably considered loan stacking. I think, maybe not. Depends on how the business is. Using PPP loan money for improper or unapproved purpose. Now, what you're going to hear from family vloggers, like the one that I'll cover that paid off their debt, is they said, no, we paid ourselves the salary, and with our salary, we paid off the debt. Right? That's how it's kind of like, that's kind of like mob mentality, right? You clean the money through you paying yourself, paid the taxes on it, and then you paid off your debt. That's still money that came from PPP loans. Okay, submitted a false certification for PPP loan forgiveness, which I don't know if that's, most of them have been forgiven. Some of them say paid off or forgiven. They're very unclear. And then not being truthful to agents during PPP loan fraud investigation. The total amount of pandemic-related criminal fraud formally prosecuted so far is more than $569 million, which is only a fraction of the suspected billions in fraud. Thus, the Biden administration intends to intensify law enforcement crackdowns on people suspected of stealing billions of dollars. Okay, this is where we are now. Now, again, because my video got deleted, because damn people were scared, okay? That made me perk up and say, well, that was deleted, but none of my other videos were? Why this one? Because it's a big deal of who took money, okay? So get ready. It's about to get insane here. So my amazing researcher came up, she went above and beyond, let's be real. She made these like amazing pitch deck and everything else. So we're going to go over the ones that we know about that I generally cover on this channel, and more influencers who did take money. And she's got a little bit here, and I'm going to bring it up. We're going to bring up the thing I had before. I have notes from a previous video of other people like James and Micah and Weiss and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start here with 8 Passengers. Now, if you know anything about 8 Passengers, go back and watch any of my videos on them. They are the worst Mormon family that exists on earth, okay? Massive exploitation of their children, terrible parenting, and just like giving people the worst advice ever. They're just so bad. They put milk on cake. Like, okay? Just don't do that. And so 8 Passengers, Bonnie, which is Ruby Frank, and they're wealthy already, by the way. Don't forget her husband is a professor at BYU. So 8 Passengers Productions LLC, limited liability company. They call themselves Motion Picture and Video Industries. They were paid $41,810 pertaining to retain 2 jobs. Don't forget that the word retain is very important here. Who are they retaining? So the idea was, don't fire people. What do you need to retain your employees, right? And they say, well, we need $41,000 based on our income from last year. That's how they do it, right? And based on their income, they said, we need $41,000 to pay these 2 jobs. And who are they? Likely their kids or themselves. So they would not have lost their jobs. And again, nobody lost ad revenue, view counts, nothing. They made more money during COVID than they would have because people were home watching this BS. Okay? Which is why my channel exploded too. I got lucky. I started talking about this during COVID and the channel exploded. So the first PPP loan was April 28th, 2020. And so from what I've noticed, there's about 2 weeks between the day the videos are posted to real time. At this time, the Frankies were renovating their brand new house they have previously bought in January 2020. Around the beginning of June, rented an RV with Ruby's family. Each family had their own RV. So this is my researcher is telling us that during the time they took the loan to afterwards, this is what they did with their money. Now, do people who are trying to hold on to employees do things like this, right? We got an RV trip meal ideas, family adventure in the sand dunes, or renting 4-wheelers. You know, Chad's out there in the sand dune getting on the 4-wheelers. Mid-July, they took a vacation to Jackson Hole, okay? They went whitewater rafting and everything. Beginning of August, they went to family reunion in Bear Lake in Idaho. They rented a mansion on the lake. Early October, family vacation to Spokane, Washington. At this point, it appears that they're still working on the backyard. A hot tub was purchased in late August, okay? They went on many vacations and spent a lot of money, and they renovated their house. Look, the PPP loan is not meant for that. It was meant for paycheck protection loans for employees. You were not allowed to spend it on anything but employees. But that's the loophole that I think that they thought they'd get away with, and maybe they still will. They are the employees. And they said, well, I'm going to take advantage of this because I can, even though they didn't need it. And the government, I don't think, stipulated, unless they did and they lied on the application. It didn't really matter. They just gave money out because they needed to. They didn't want the economy to crash. Okay. 8 Passengers took the second loan, $41,810 on January 23rd, 2021. Okay. No crazy vacations or anything. They finished the backyard of their new house, and I'm sure that was pretty penny. So a lot of people didn't know you can get 2. So they applied for the first one, spent all the money. It was just a big giant bonus for a lot of these families, right? Then they got the new money. Tipton, she got an email here from Tipton Landscaping. Hi, thank you for your inquiry. We would love to set up a bid for you. We're a full-service install company, $15,000 minimum, typically on a new construction or complete overhauls. Existing properties. Does this fit within your project budget? Oh, did she email them? Wow. Thank you, researcher. So they got Tipton Landscaping to do landscaping at their house at a minimum of $15,000 after getting another $41,810. So all told, 8 Passengers took $83,620 from the Paycheck Protection Loan from the government and went on many vacations and spent many monies. Cool? That's number 1. Let's move on. So Weiss Life, one of the nastiest family vloggers who kind of skip under the radar of everybody else, who do all the broad fittings and shaving legs and period videos, and have a daughter that's like Cinderella, who has another bio family that want to see her that she can't see. Crazy. Parental alienation, the whole thing. This family's disgusting. I hate them. Okay? They took 2 loans, one for $23,222, one for $21,145 under the motion picture video description, Weiss Life Productions, Inc. Okay. And so from the time they took the loan, they were talking about moving somewhere temporarily. And that was a year ago, big news about moving. This is before the Hawaii thing, by the way. So they brought in this money, and don't forget, they're real estate investors, okay? Beginning of January 2022, we're moving, okay? Beginning of February 2022, new house tour, Beach Hawaii house. I mean, there's probably more that's happened over that time, all the spending and all the crazy things they've done. But overall, Weiss Life took $44,367 from the government for the Paycheck Protection Loan that they didn't need. And how many employees did they hold on to? Jobs retained, 6. How many people are in their family? 6. So you're telling me, Weiss Life, that if you couldn't take this $45,000, that you're going to fire your family? Is that what was going to happen? You're going to have to lay them off? Right? This is what the government is talking about. This is not appropriate. It did not pertain to these people, because if those kids are being paid, and that's the case, if that's what they're claiming here, and it looks like it, okay, then are they adhering to child labor laws? Because if they're not, then that's also illegal. So Weiss Life, I hope that whoever's watching this from the State Department sees that the Weiss Life should be investigated not only for hiring their children, some of which are toddlers. Also, I wonder if they're adhering to child labor laws in California, or Coogan laws for that matter. Interesting. All right, let's move on. Tara Blanderson, your favorite and mine. Yeah, she's not anybody's favorite. So Tara Lynn Henderson Corporation, crazy. Advertising and material distribution services. So she has a business where they do like shitty clothes and stuff like that, right? Really terrible. So they took their first PPP loan. I think they only took one for $14,000. And if you look at Sloan's video he did on them, he alleges that they bought a $14,000 stove. So very interesting that those two things really aligned at the time. She gets a $14,000 loan. She gets a $14,000 stove. Also, if you don't know how to cook and you buy a $14,000 stove, shame on you. But we all know that Tara Henderson is all about like excess and extra, right? Because she just threw her 1-year-old a birthday party. It probably cost $10,000, right? That's who she is. So of course she's going to buy $14,000. Can't even make macaroni and cheese probably. So Tara Lynn Henderson received a Paycheck Protection Loan, $14,000 through Navy FCU, which is their bank. Okay. During the PPP loan date, June 2nd, 2020, Tara announced they are moving and building their dream house, and they built their dream house, and then they did it. And we saw that. And again, Sloan alleging, and I believe Sloan, because he does his research, found that they bought a $14,000 range. But Frank, I think that's her husband's name. I forget his name. I don't know what his name is. Emailed Sloan and me and said, no, we paid our translator. That's who we were holding on to. And they were holding on to 2 jobs. 2 jobs. They say they have 2 translators. But the government, we did more research into PPP loans, and you are not allowed to use the PPP loan to pay services rendered. Those aren't your employees. They had to be your employees. Contractors are not employees. You are not allowed to use the Paycheck Protection Loan to pay contractors. These are trying to keep full-time jobs basically, or part-time jobs for the business. Who are the 2 people they're holding on to? It was them. Okay, they paid themselves and then bought expensive shit with it, and ugly expensive shit for that matter. So Tara Henderson took $14,000 from the government that she didn't need from somebody else who could have used it more. All right, let's get into Aaryn Williams. Aaryn Williams, subchapter S Corporation, musical groups and artist. I didn't know that Aaryn Williams was a musical group or artist. Okay. So she took a loan of $34,670 to retain 2 jobs. Okay. Now, likely those 2 jobs are Aaryn and her husband. Okay. This says paid in full or forgiven, but I've asked Aaryn Williams, they did not pay back their loan. I think they had intentions to pay it back. They did not pay back their loan. Okay. In the middle of May, she gets Botox, which I don't think that's a lot of money anymore. I don't know. Middle of July, renovated her dad's home. Okay. After getting $34,670. And then Aaryn was also busy renovating her house during this time. So during the time that Aaryn got her loans, $34,670, she was renovating homes and getting Botox. Again, Aaryn and her husband did not need this money. So Aaryn Williams, $34,670. Let's move on to It's Our Life, our favorite and yours terrible people. Like he totally, has too much earwax. Like just earwax. And there's like those nose hairs. Just trim it, dude. You can see it. Just relax. Okay, that's the Daniel from Our Life, the Daniel Roasts. They are Daniel Rich, other services related advertising, Wellington, Florida. Daniel Rich sole proprietorship is located in Wellington, Florida, and received coronavirus relief program for $20,833 and retained one job. So, I mean, they probably could have taken more. I wonder if Daniel's the only person getting paid out of their business because they're the way they're doing their taxes and their LLC. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But they this says paid in full or forgiven. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean they paid it in full, but I doubt they did. Okay. Mid-April, after making money. I need to keep saying this in this video so you guys are remembering. The Paycheck Protection Loan was so that you held on to employees so you did not have to fire them so people could stay afloat during lockdowns and everything else. Okay. Going on Disney trips mid-April after receiving the money is not what it was for. And they went on 2 of them. Then they got a new car for their daughter. Okay. Then lots of shopping. That's all these people do. New iPhones, buying her fruits in her iPhone, spending all her birthday money, surprising Evie with a Tesla, buying Evie the most expensive birthday gifts, shopping spree. December 2021, buying a rental property in Orlando. Okay. So our life gets $20,833 and just blows all the money. And then now their channel's garbage. So I hope they also get tagged for fraud. I do. I really, really, truly do. All right, let's move on to Bonnie Hoellein. Okay. So Bonnie Hoellein took 2 loans. One for $25,000 or one for $26,590, one for $26,592. Adjusted for inflation, I guess. Because they're months. These are months apart, okay? So March, she took her first one, April 2020, and then March 2021. A year apart, took another loan because the government made it possible again. Everybody who took a PPP loan the first time wasn't aware the government was going to do it the second time, but they did it and they took advantage of it. The Hoelleins don't need the money. I'm going to obviously make the argument that none of these people needed the money. Okay. So they took the money and then this is what they did with it. 1st of June, buying a new RV, house and RV trips with the 8 Passengers clan. They did the same thing. So imagine the 8 Passengers all getting together and saying, let's all get these loans out together. Okay, then we're going to get these loans and we're going to do an RV trip because we have all this money that came in. Let's do this thing with this extra money we got. But don't forget, with the extra money they get and the RV trips they get to do, they create content and make more money with it, right? Crazy. October 20th, more RV trips. Then she takes a second PP loan on March 3rd, and then they go to Cape Cabo, San Lucas, Mexico. Then they go to Cape Cabo, San Lucas, Mexico. Then they go to 4th of July RV trip. Okay, they take more trips. Does this sound like a company that's really struggling to get over, is really struggling during a pandemic? Does that sound like what a company does? Do companies who are struggling go on vacations and fix homes and everything else? Is that what happens? No, it doesn't. So Bonnie Hoellein, $53,182, okay, for a Mormon family. For what? Insane. All right, let's move on to Jeffree Star. Your favorite, my favorite. No anti-eyebrow. Just why? Anyway, Jeffree Star took one loan here. It looks at $413,675 to retain 21 jobs. Now, of the people who took the loans, likely Jeffree Star does employ people, right? Jeffree Star just doesn't. He has a staff, a team. I think he has merch and everything else. So likely he does have a staff that he did pay, right? But how much do you think of that went to the staff? Right? Because Jeffree Star didn't need it. The thing with PPP loans, it was made for people who needed it or they would go under. Jeffree Star wasn't going under because of the pandemic. If anything, up, right? Remember, people were home watching YouTube more than they ever were before. Numbers were skyrocketing. They were making more money than they ever made before. He didn't need it. The point was he didn't need it, but they took it because they could. In the time that Jeffree Star Cosmetics got the loan, he bought this 70-acre ranch in Casper, Wyoming in winter of 2020. A 70-acre ranch, which likely was probably around the price, well, maybe a little bit more. Good down payment for the ranch anyway. For everyone wondering, I'm never going to leave Hidden Hills. I just bought a home in Wyoming with a lot of land for family. Going to split my time between California here. P.S. City Hall had no line and everyone was nice. Okay. So I'm pretty sure he took more though, but Jeffree Star, again, bought property, has more cars than anybody knows what to do with, is wealthier beyond anybody's wildest dreams and would never have suffered at all. Even if the pandemic sent everybody home, Jeffree Star could have paid everybody and still had more money than he'll ever know what to do with or spend. Okay, that's the idea here. These people didn't need to take it and took it away from people who did need it, who lost Everything. Let's not forget that there is this huge group of people, of millions of people, who lost everything because they couldn't get the loans. Because people like this jackwagon took it before they could. Because it was a first come, first served basis. So, Jeffree Star, haunted eyebrows, $413,675. Cullen and Katie is one of the early ones that I covered on this one. This one pissed me off a little bit, right? They did. So they took a loan for $25,000 and they were forgiven more than $25,000. That's weird. Independent artists, writers, and performance. They saved 2 jobs. Okay? And it was forgiven, the status. August 2020, after they took the loan, going to Florida to look at houses. These people, don't forget, they built their channel on being like frugal debt payer offers. That's what they built their channel on, right? October 2020, announcing the new house. January 2020, debt-free. Over $50,000 of debt paid off. That's surprising. Look at that. And I called them out on it, and they responded to me in a video, and they said, no, that's not how this works. They actually gave away the secrets. They said, we are employees of our company and we paid ourselves, and that's what we paid the debt with. They admitted it. There's a video of them admitting it, and I hope it's still online. Something tells me I doubt it. But, okay. Cullen and Katie, $25,203 from the government. They didn't need it, and all they did was pay off debt. Their company wasn't going under, and they admitted it. A-holes. Okay. Next up is Not Enough Nelsons, okay? I've done one video on them. I think they're the family that took their daughter to the restaurant and had a sex talk on camera. It was really disgusting. I need to snark on them way more, and I will, I promise. Okay, so Nelson Contractors, which is the dad's company, took a PPP loan for $125,805, okay? Retaining 13 jobs. Now, if that's the truth, fine, right? But I am going to make an allegation that I doubt it. Because why? Because Not Enough Nelsons use that as their LLC, and they probably run all their YouTube money through there as well. Okay? They have 18 kids or 16 children. That's really, really, I hope they come out and clarify that. Did he pay the 13 children like most LLCs do? They pay their kids, or does he have 13 jobs? So if I look up Nelson Contractors in Mill Creek, Utah. All right, so you have so let me get this straight. You have a contracting company with no web presence, none. And I can't see anything you've done. It's your corporation that you probably had before the channel started, and you just kind of merged it together. If somebody lives in, correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong about this, but I think the 13 are the kids, and the 125,000 is they took for the channel. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so for them, it was just mostly just how, like, room makeovers or buying mansions and doing all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I can't, unless they've been told, don't forget, a lot of these people might have deleted a lot of their videos that talked about what they spent their money on. If you go to the Snark forums, I bet you'll find about these people what they did with this money. Again, that's if they used it for that. Now, if I can't find anything about this company online, then, the people that are looking for this money too are going to show the same thing. They're going to prove to us that you paid 13 contractors from your company. And if you can't prove that, that shit's going to be crazy for Not Enough Nelsons. They could go to jail for that. Then where are their 16 kids going to be? I also feel like we have to, for the sake of being fair, give honor to those who didn't take PPP loans that you think might have. The Tiny Beasons didn't take any, Bits of Brie didn't, Jess Fam didn't, Crazy Pieces, Crazy Middles. I'm actually very surprised they didn't, unless they've got a hidden LLC that we don't know about, okay? I don't know. But we have to give those props who did not take the PPP loans that could have. I want to give those people props. Thank God they have some semblance of not being complete dickbags all the time. Okay, my thing's not working over here, so I have to bring my phone up for the information, so I have it saved from my other video. So, Hickman, love me, the shitty couch. Her and her husband took $32,500 to save 2 jobs, okay, in 2020, April 28th, 2020, okay? They proceeded to, after they took the thing, traveled out of state in 2021, traveled to Disney, February 29th, traveled to Cancun, June 11th, I think, traveled out of state again in 2020, Waco, Texas. November, they went to Pigeon Forge. September, they went to Disney. August, Cancun. July, Disney. June, Disney. May 6th, Orlando. April 12th, South Carolina, just to have dinner, apparently. February 20th, they went to Disney. January 25th, Hilton Head, South Carolina. January 10th, Cancun. February 17th to 22nd, to Disney. Now, we might have missed a few spontaneous trips in there. And then they took another one for $31,700. So Love, Meg, and her husband took $64,200. During a time they didn't need to, and went on many, many trips. Okay? Disgusting, these people. And the next one. If you're watching people that are going to take these people down, it's James and Micah Stauffer. The most disgusting people in this world that we talk about. Who adopted a kid from China, brought him here, made millions off the story and everything that they did, and then rehomed him when it got difficult. Did a video the other day on James saying he doesn't regret what they did. And for all intents and purposes, Micah deleted her channel and was canceled. But James still has his channel and makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. At the time this all went down, the Stauffers took out, for the first time, $45,620 for 2 jobs. Who do you think they were paying? Okay, good. Then the next year took out $41,772. And in that time, we know that they have traveled to Cancun, to all these places. They rehomed, they bought jewelry, Cartier bracelets, and they got rid of one of their kids, right? And they have 2 Range Rovers, a BMW, 2 huge properties, which I'm not sure they haven't sold one. They bought another property in the woods, which is where I think they are now. They were just buying. And this is the first loan that they took was before their cancellation. So it wasn't that they needed to do it because they were struggling, okay? The second one, she was, for all intents and purposes, canceled, so they weren't making any money. And so, I mean, even Micah might even have a reason to take a PPP loan because they were struggling and they were going down. But not because they had to fire employees, because of their own doing. So, Micah and James Stauffer, the most disgusting people in the world, $87,342 they took from people who needed it that couldn't get it in Ohio. Okay, how many businesses in Ohio went down because they couldn't get the money? Took out nearly $90,000 for what? For what? Yeah, I'm mad. All right, and last but not least, your favorite and mine, Ace Henley. What's going on in jail? Because I hope that's where they land here, okay? Ace Hat Collection, self-employed individual, internet publishing and broadcasting web search company in Palmdale, California. Ace Hat Collection took a loan size, $108,332. to retain 7 jobs. And what we know about the Ace family, ew. We know that they're one of the most disgusting people on the internet. They have taken so much from people. They have scammed so much money from so many people. So maybe they paid 7 people. I doubt it. But we know that they've been on many luxury vacations. They flew their family to a mansion in Mexico on a private plane. Okay, in that time, they've bought Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, everything. They've bought so much. They're already rich again. And this is the funniest thing about these things. They give this away. Ace Hat Collection 2019 payroll expenses are estimated to be $520,000 is their payroll. They're paying themselves, okay, hundreds of thousands of dollars and then taking massive dividends, okay, based on $74,000 per employee. Payroll, $81,000. Utilities, $7,000. Mortgage interest, $20,000. All while we knew they weren't even paying their damn mortgage. Right? We knew that shit went down. They weren't even supposed to be living there legally. So if they spent PPP money on the place that they were living, they weren't supposed to be there legally. So this is one of the big ones that the fraud investigators need to get under. They need to go find out what happened with Ace family. These people continue to be like the crime family, as far as I'm concerned, with all the shit that went down. There's way more than meets the eye with this loan because of what we now know about Ace family. So they took $108,000, almost $109,000 from people who could have used it, and they absolutely did not need it, while driving around in the most expensive cars, flying around the world, and doing all these things and getting sued and not supposed to be living places. Insane, Ace family. So all told, Ace family, $108,332. That's one you need to investigate the most, I think. So there are likely a lot more that I've missed, 100%. I just don't have time to cover them all, but those are kind of the main ones that I talk about on this channel who took money that they shouldn't have taken. Again, basing this just on honesty and basing this on morals, basing this on just being good business people, they were not allowed to take this. Based on what the government said the money was for, none of these people needed it. None of their companies were going down. They didn't have to fire anybody because they're their own employees. So that was the main thing here. That was what the money was for, to retain employees. Are you telling me they're going to fire themselves from their channels? Because their channels didn't suffer. So if the government's listening, if anybody knows any numbers to call or whatever the case may be, if there's I'll find one, I'll put it here if I can find it, okay? You need to flag these people. They need to be flagged. They need to be held accountable for taking money that didn't belong to them, for shutting and helping shut down other people who needed the money. Way more than they did. None of these people that I've talked about today, none of them needed this money to survive. None of them. They actually thrived, and they could have thrived without it. And all this was a big giant bonus. Okay? That is disgusting. They need to be flagged. I hope the government takes at least some of them down. Not only are they giving away their kids' privacy, they got predators after the kids, they're exploiting their children for money, but they're also crooks. People like, again, and look at all the Mormons here. Look at the Mormons who stole money, who didn't need it, okay? Jesus thinks you suck ass. Still loves you, though, but you suck ass for doing that, especially if you claim to be Christian or Mormon. I hope that you are in the outer darkness floating there like a TK smoothie and thinking, man, did we really need the $100,000 to take our kids to Mexico? Or to Hawaii. Do we really need that? Now we're in the outer darkness. And that's exactly where you deserve to be anyway. Even Joseph Smith is like, I don't know these people. I do not claim these people. And Joseph Smith's gross. Okay? Anyway. I hope that's been helpful to everybody. I hope there's a heaping pile of steaming justice served to these a-holes. Are you with me? I know you're with me. Take a deep breath. Breathe out all that justice onto them. They need to, and I hope some of them are scared out of their minds too. I hope they are. I hope they're scared. I hope some of them go to jail. I do. Honestly do. Don't care. I love you. You're amazing. Hope you have an amazing day. And I hope that you guys who did suffer, and I've gotten so many messages of people who did suffer over the pandemic and their business was shut down, that you've recovered or have had some semblance of recovery. But if not, that I hope you get the justice you deserve. Right? This is the justice for those people who had to suffer through this and then lose everything as well, while family vloggers who didn't lose anything, who didn't suffer, who weren't even at risk of anything, took money. Right? I hope that you've recovered from that. Don't forget your value and your worth, and I will see you tomorrow.